Hey, I just want to share something that's been very significant for me in my journey as a business leader, as a father, as a husband, and how to stay connected and engaged, but also how to be aware of the presence of God in our day-to-day decisions. Because in the presence of God, everything changes. Let me explain what I mean. I was meeting with a CEO and a client who was just challenged with a number of decisions he was making. We got on the Zoom call, and he's just going through all these decisions he has to choose to make. He's feeling the pressure of those decisions. He's looking at the finances. He's got to fire a couple people. He's trying to figure out strategically how to take the company. All these different things are just kind of weighing on him. I don't know if you've been in that place where you're just feeling the pressure of all the stuff that's swirling around you, and you're just overwhelmed with those things, and you can't even make clarity, or you can't have clarity on what you're even trying to do because of all the different decisions. And I told him, I said, hey, listen, we're not going to be able to make any good decisions in the place that you're at. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, whatever we agree with, we empower. And what I mean by that is right now you're under the pressure, anxiety, frustration, even the stress of things. And when we agree with those things, we actually open the door for the enemy to come in and actually be empowered or influence those decisions, because we're now agreeing with those things versus peace and clarity and truth, partnering with what God says over the situation. So I want you to do me a favor. He goes, okay. I said, I want you to close your eyes, and I'm going to do something. And I just put on this song by Cody Carnes, and some of you guys might have heard this testimony before, but it's worth repeating. And it was just this song called Nothing Else. And so for about 9 minutes, or I think 32 seconds, he sat there, and the presence of God just filled this Zoom call. He could feel the peace of God come, and the tears just began to come down his cheek. And I said, what's going on? He goes, Tim, I walked in here with about 20 questions. I'm walking out with 4 answers. Tim, this is the most productive thing I've done all day. I feel like I just gained 4 hours of my day back. I said, that's incredible. And it transformed this whole meeting to be able to have clarity on what we're even supposed to focus on, instead of trying to figure out 20 different questions, to what is the Lord highlighting. See, in the presence of God, everything changes. And in Psalms, I think is 71, verse 17, I think that is, and talks about David. The whole chapters talk about David just frustrated by all the enemies succeeding and people prospering that are not righteous people. But then he said, I think in verse 17 goes, I went into the sanctuary, into the presence of God, and then I recognized their end. In the presence of God, reality came into true perspective. His perspective came into my perspective, and I began to see what was going to happen. So the presence of God changes everything. I want to give you a couple things that I found has been really helpful in my journey. Number one is obviously our devotional time. Number two, though, is I set up times throughout the day to stop and connect with Holy Spirit. I call them 15-minute vacations. You can call them 5-minute vacations, but I just shut down the computer. I put reminders on my watch or my phone, and I stop and I close everything down. And I just put my affection on the Lord. So Holy Spirit, I just invite you to come. I honor you. What am I doing? I'm reconnecting. It's like I'm recharging my phone, my battery in that process. The other thing I do is I'll set up, before I walk into a meeting with anybody, whether it's on Zoom or in person, I'll stop and I'll just become aware of the Lord. I'll just put my affection on the Lord again, and I'll just become aware of the Lord, of what just his presence. Because the more we're aware of what he feels like, the more we're going to be aware when he comes. And the more we're aware of when he comes, we honor him. He's attracted honor. It's worship. But I'm being aware. If I'm aware of him, I'm going to be aware of what he's doing in the room. So that's another key for me of just staying connected to the presence. But the other thing I do throughout the week is I'll set time aside just to be with him in my business day. Just like I'm meeting with my director of operations, or I'm meeting with this executive, I'll set up time blocks just to meet with God and say, God, what are you saying about my business? What are you doing? Why am I saying these things? Because I believe it's important to be intentional, to connecting with God, because we know that in his presence, everything changes. So I want to leave you with those 3 keys that I've found to re-engage and reconnect with the Holy Spirit. But one last thing I want to say. If you're feeling the stress, you're feeling the anxiety, you're feeling the pressure, I want to encourage you to do something. I want to encourage you just to stop. Put on a worship song, go for a walk, and just reconnect and just invite him to come in. Because in the presence, clarity comes. In the presence, truth comes, peace comes, joy comes, strategy and insight. But more than anything, alignment comes to know his truth over everything that you're doing. So I just bless you right now to have the permission to pause and reconnect no matter what's going on.